What's going on, YouTube? Hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're having a good week as always. Just making sure that this microphone's working. How's this? Make sure the audio sounds good. Give me a thumbs up if it's good. Let me know where you guys are at. And I'm gonna go live on Facebook real quick too and do the double down. Let's see. Bang, put that there. What's going on Facebook? We got YouTube and Facebook. It's tripping me out. I see the two cameras. I feel like I'm in the Matrix. But I want to talk about one thing today, and then we could do a question and answer at the end if you guys had any comments. I know people were asking me to talk about Bolivia. There's the Don Cherry situation where I guess, I don't know, he said something, now he got fired. But I wanted to talk about something that's interesting to me, the dissident right, or the Groypers or whatever they're calling themselves. There's kind of an internal battle going on the conservative side, and I just find it very, very interesting and intriguing, so I keep talking about it. And the topic I wanted to talk about today was Don Jr. had an event. First off, I want to say I think Don Jr.'s a patriot, a great guy. He's crushing it. His book's doing well. I know he's at an event today and he's selling a lot of books. I mean, people are lining up to see him. I like Don Jr. I mean, I have a song called I Like Trump. I hope he likes that too. It's his last name. But he went to a Turning Point event the other night and actually got booed. And the reason I want to talk about it is not to keep harping on the same thing, but you see the media hype around it. You had the left wing. It was like the number one searched story. And then you had right wing media is now smearing, other right wing people in what I would say is a false light. And the craziest, most cringy thing about this is all they have to do is answer questions and host a question and answer, and nobody will care. It's like they keep running away from questions, and it's not a good look. I mean, man, somebody needs to get on their PR team and really let them know what's up. We'll talk about it for a second. I'm going to read some comments, and then we're going to get into it. Let's see. We got Facebook. We got Arthur Monk. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Today's Veterans Day, I believe. So God bless all the veterans. Appreciate you guys. Every veteran here. Let's see who we got over here. North Carolina. Someone said, I quit PR till I get paid. The leather jacket is fresh. Thank you. Yeah, I got away from the warm weather for a little bit. It's a little, I could fix it a little bit there. It's okay. I'm not known for my high fashion. What's up, Scott? Charles sent in a super chat. He said, why are all the protests worldwide suppressed? The media has a certain narrative. So like when it comes to, say Bolivia or Chile or, a lot of these other revolutions, a lot of the time and politicians and agendas. So if it's something that they want to be publicized, like Syria, if they want to start a war in Syria, they act like it's a huge revolution when it's not. And then when it's, France or Chile, they don't really care. I think it's mostly like there's certain people with a certain agenda. And if it doesn't, it's like 10,000 people could get shot in a city. But, if it's the right racial narrative that they're looking for, then they'll hype it up for 2 years, and allow just like a city to go to crap. So that's what's going on. Someone said, did you get a haircut? No, I just tied my hair back, but thank you. Is it not Veterans Day? I don't know. What day is it? I'm sorry. What's the official day for today? Is that not what it's called? Veterans Day? Sorry, guys. I'm not really paying attention. We got Louisiana. All right. Let's just get into the story. I don't want to waste too much people's time. I always hear, they're like, Anomaly, you always give shout outs. And, sometimes we want to get to the story. Someone said from Texas here, Army combat veteran. Thank you, Eli, for your service. God bless you. Thank you, JT. So the big story today that I saw that interests me, there's a lot of stories, but Don Jr., he had a great event, I'm sure, but he kind of got booed at the end. And it's not Don Jr. getting booed. I want to get the story straight. I like Don Jr. I like the Trump family. I'm pumped about his new book. I'm not a big reader as far as like, trying to read the Bible and other stuff. But anyway, I want to compliment the guy. I think he's doing great. But he had a Turning Point event and they canceled the question and answer and people got really upset. And it was a media fiasco. You had left-wing media super pumped to be like, yo, look, even the right-wingers are booing Trump Jr., so they liked it. And then what really stood out to me was how bad right-wing media covered it. I mean, it was really bad. So One American News Network, which I think is great, you had their White House correspondent basically saying that she thought it was left-wing plants that did the booing. So she made up a whole conspiracy theory. And I'm like, it's not It's not left-wing plants. Left-wing do have some plants, I'm sure, but this was not one of those moments. She said that. You had the Blaze. The Blaze was saying white supremacists, neo-Nazi sympathizer, like all these crazy things. They're smearing people who want to ask a question. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. That's why I keep talking about it. So for those of you who don't know, I'll explain it real quick because I think some people get confused. So there's a dissident right or a further right, whatever you want to call them, right-wing people, patriots, people who supported for him in 2016, many of which supported Trump before I did, or before Charlie Kirk did, or before Ben Shapiro did. Ben Shapiro still doesn't like the president. He was a never Trumper. He smeared him as alt-right, years ago. So these are people who supported Trump before any of us, me, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro. And they're going to big conservative events and they want to challenge the right wing. So instead of going to these right wing events and saying, hey guys, I'm a big fan, own the libs, plastic straws are bad, instead of saying what conservatives want to hear, they're challenging the right wing establishment or the right wing campus conservatives, culture warriors, Rob Smith, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, these people going to campuses, and they're asking them questions about immigration. They're asking them questions about demographic. They're asking them questions about Israel. They're asking them questions about, a lot of different things. Some people are trolling. Some people are a little disruptive. But I would say from watching all the videos, 99% of the people, or 90%, are asking legitimate questions. Listen, there's a lot of people who watch me who don't agree with me. But when they do question and answers, if you ask me a question I don't like or I don't agree with, I don't smear you. I don't say you're a neo-Nazi, you're a white supremacist, you're a liberal, you're a far leftist. I don't do that. Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? Even when some people are like, Anomaly, you're not answering my question, I laugh at it. I'm like, dude, I'll try to look at your question. Sorry, there's a lot of comments. I got, 1,500 people congregate right now. So point I'm getting to is if someone asks a question or has a stance that you don't agree with, there's a way to handle it and there's a way not to handle it. So Dan Crenshaw, Ben Shapiro, Turning Point USA, and now unfortunately Donald Trump Jr. got involved. They're answering terribly. I'm just going to be quite frank. Not Don Jr. He's not really been a part of it, but Dan Crenshaw got asked a question about Israel and the First Amendment. And me, as somebody who's in the middle of like a lot of people, and I just kind of observe, I like Dan Crenshaw on some things, but he answered terribly. His answer was horrible. He said some people are just cloaking themselves in the First Amendment, and he was like basically saying anybody who thinks this way must hate an entire group of people. It was an awful answer. I don't care that Dan Crenshaw answered terribly in my perspective. What I don't like is that now all these right wingers, the Charlie Kirks, the Dan Crenshaws, the Ben Shapiros, the Blazes, the Daily Wires, they're getting in their little elite group of like campus conservatives and they're saying, these are neo-Nazis, these are white supremacists, this is the far alt-right, everybody's alt-right, they're coming to troll us, they're coming to disrupt our events. And the truth is, from what I've seen, they're asking legitimate questions. Some of them are trolling, some of them are a little rude, but for the most part, they're legitimate right-wing questions that people want to know about demographics, identity, Israel, foreign policy, and these guys are not answering well, and they're running away from question and answers. So that's why I keep talking about it, because it's hilarious. And also, it's really like a big moment in the conservative movement. A lot of people say, Anomaly, we got to all get along. I mean, to an extent, yeah, you want to stay together, but you don't want a bunch of yes men. If somebody's doing the wrong thing and lying and selling out your First Amendment, if they're talking about red flag laws on the Second Amendment, it's not our job to say, oh, we're all one big team. You're allowed to question Dan Crenshaw. You're allowed to question me. You're allowed to question Ben Shapiro. That's totally fine. I'm not going to smear you as some crazy radical group just because you disagree with me. But for some reason, that's what these right-wing people are doing. The Charlie Kirks, they're calling everybody alt-right. And in my opinion, they're doing what, they're doing what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. If you don't agree with me, you're deplorable. If you agree with right-wingers on this topic, you're Russian. That's a right-wing talking point. When you do that psychologically, just think of like the psychology behind it, you're building the right wing. So Hillary Clinton, she said, everybody here is deplorable. She gave you guys a brand. It's kind of like when the right-wingers always talk about the squad. You never hear me talk about the squad because that's a good brand. It sounds like a powder puff superhero. Even Steven Crowder made a whole cartoon of them as like Powerpuff Girls, and he thinks he's making fun of them, but what he's really doing is branding them. He's giving them a brand, the squad, the deplorables. So it's bad strategy. And also when you attack your own people, it's like left-wing people or Bernie Sanders supporters, she says, you're Russian. it makes people move to the right. They say, oh, you think I'm right wing? I guess I am. You called me that so many times. So that's kind of what the moderate right wing is doing. They're saying I'm being attacked by alt-right trolls. Some people said they are. Some people are alt-right, but even that, from a branding perspective, the originator of the alt-right, and I'm in no way, shape, or form affiliated. I'm not, I could care less about anything they're doing. They branded it as alternative right, alternative to right wing. I'm not saying I agree with their stances on things. I'm just saying this is how easy words can be branded. The far left, how come the far right? The far right can get you banned off any social media. It's like this buzzword that can, get you censored and silenced. But the far left, it doesn't really have that branding because there's no push behind it. I can make the word, they're trying to say frogs are now the symbol of, because the right wing uses the frog. So you could brand a frog or a panda. You get what I'm saying? It's a lot of media branding. But for me, what they're doing, and to give context, Don Jr. had an event. Instead of answering questions and facing, someone said, breathe, I'll breathe later. Instead of answering questions, they keep shutting down questions, and they're saying these are trolls, these are alt-right. We're not even going to answer questions. But it's whack, and it's whack not just to, because in that group of what they're calling themselves, the groypers or the far right, there is people who are legitimately very far right who are, there's some not great people there. I'm not going to lie. But there's also a lot of people that are in the middle that, like me personally, the reason I keep talking about this is fascinating, but I'm very different from Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro. I'm very, very different from Nick Fuentes and this whole new movement. But if you had to ask me who was being whacker, I would say Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro by far. I disagree with and dislike much, much more. I'm not an extreme. I'm not alt-right. I'm not far right. I just don't like them. I think they're corny. I think their brand of conservatism is kind of like they pick bad people. They lie constantly. They're very hypocritical on free speech. They're very, very hypocritical on a lot of things, political correctness, free speech. I don't think they're very strong people, which is fine. I'm not here to, be a cheerleader. I'm just saying they've kind of taken the stance. Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, and, now they put Don Jr. They basically like, if you don't agree with me, if you want to ask me questions, if you don't like what I'm doing, you must be alt-right, far-right Nazi sympathizers. And it's like, this is the false dichotomy that these games that they play. It's like, pick Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. 60 plus million people voted for Trump, or maybe 40 plus million. Now hundreds of millions of people like him. We only have two choices. You know what I'm saying? Some people like Trump for his immigration. Some people like him for the tax returns. Some people like him because he's anti-establishment. Some people like him because he calls out the media. Everybody who likes Trump is not deplorable. There's businessmen, there's, white collar people, blue collar people, there's people in every state. It's ignorant and disingenuous to say that every single person who likes Donald Trump is a certain way. Doing that type of stuff is not good branding. It's not good politics. And when it comes to what now, like the Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro did a whole hour-long speech saying, I'm attacking the alt-right. Ben, there's a lot of people who just don't like what you're saying, bro. Everybody's not alt-right. I have, because the alt-right people, Ben Shapiro always says, oh, the alt-right is so anti-Semitic. I have Jewish conservative friends who don't even like Nick Fuentes or the alt-right, but they're like, dude, Charlie Kirk is so whack. They're like, I don't like Fuentes. I'm not a big fan of like these other guys, but they're disgusted by like Dan Crenshaw and Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro. Like, these guys are such phony losers. But that's the game they're playing. We don't need to agree with them, but they're saying, if you don't agree with our brand of conservatism, which I don't, which millions of people don't, it's not that we hate them. I think they're doing great work. They're basically playing this weird game of like, we're not going to answer questions. When we do answer questions, we answer horribly. Our stance on the First Amendment's terrible. Crenshaw's horrible on the First Amendment. Shapiro is the biggest hypocrite on the First Amendment. And Charlie Kirk has videos where he says he doesn't even like America. He's like, America's not about the Rocky Mountains or the people here. It's about an idea. You don't care about the land, bro? You don't care about the citizens here? That's a little bit of a weird answer. Even Tucker Carlson made fun of. Someone said, you can't hear me? Can you hear me, guys? A lot of people seem to hear me. I think maybe you could turn your speaker up. But, even Tucker Carlson kind of poked fun at Charlie Kirk because he's like, how is that America first when you don't even care about the landscape or, the people here? So it's like, there's legitimate people. Tucker doesn't agree with Charlie on that. I don't agree with him on that. I don't agree with Ben Shapiro on 80% of what he says. So I'm just confused by why they keep taking this stance. The Blaze is like, if anybody wants to ask Don Jr. a question, they must be a white supremacist. It's like, dude, these people are so full of crap. It's like, dude, I like the questions that the Nick Fuentes crew is asking. I don't agree with them on everything, but I want to ask them questions. And they don't mind. That's the weird thing. They love debates. Charlie, Ben, Dan Crenshaw, they had 2 weeks of like getting challenged from the right wing. And then all of a sudden, they shut down their question and answers and say anybody who wants to go to our debates and ask us a question must be some sort of neo-Nazi. It's like, maybe we don't like the fact that you like red flag laws, Dan Crenshaw. Maybe we're not that pumped about, your speakers. I'm not a hater, but as a branding person, they're picking weak people who are just like puppets. They're like black unemployment. Like you got Don Jr.'s wife, bless her soul, she's screaming about black unemployment. Like we know, it's like, it's just a weird. And then she called everybody like, she was like, oh, you guys can't get laid. You need dating apps. It's like, not everybody's at this event to get laid. Like I don't go to Turning Point events like, let me try to get laid as quickly as possible. It's like, I'm trying to see a political debate, and smearing somebody like they can't get, like, that's a weird, their whole strategy is totally off kilter. And I like these people. So this is kind of what I've been trying to say for a year now. And I've warned people before that this was going to happen. The mainstream right they're not really mainstream, but like the Charlie Kirks, the Ben Shapiros, the Dan Crenshaws, and now they're dragging Don Jr. into it. They've taken the stance of like, either you agree with our brand of conservatism, or we're going to smear you as an alt-right, white supremacist, neo-Nazi, horrible person, and use all our media to do that. And it's leading so many people away from them. And just to be honest, a lot of these kids, you can call them what you want, but a lot of these people that they're smearing, they supported Donald Trump in 2015 and 2016 when it mattered. You're not going to hear me, who supported, just to be honest, I thought Bernie Sanders was an establishment breaker. I didn't know anything about taxes. I didn't know anything about healthcare. I was very politically unaware. I'm not going to tell people that my brand of Trump is the only brand of Trump, but Ben Shapiro never supported Trump. Ben Shapiro has a blacklist he wrote right before the election where he says on his Twitter, it's going viral now, he said Donald Trump is alt-right, Ron Paul is alt-right, Mike Cernovich is alt-right. He said, Breitbart News is alt-right. He basically blacklisted them. Like, he's like, guys, these are the alt-right, take them down. He doesn't even like Trump. So why does Ben Shapiro think he's the gatekeeper of conservatism when he hates our president? And he's just like, that guy is such a sneak. But Charlie Kirk, he's doing great work now. Charlie Kirk supported Rubio in 2016. And I'm not knocking. Like I said, who am I to judge? I supported someone else. But he's acting like anybody who disagrees with me is a far, far right, horrible person. We're going to destroy your life. When a lot of these kids supported Trump before he did. They got Trump elected. They campaigned for Trump. They just have questions on immigration and demographics. And it's really weird to me to see them take this stance. To give you more context, in Ben Shapiro's 40-minute unhinged, totally dishonest speech about the alt-right, he was saying the far right talks about demographics and acts like demographics matter for votes, but, it's really about an idea and culture. Meanwhile, there's a whole video of Shapiro talking about demographics like a couple years ago, and it's like he's debating himself. He's saying everybody who feels this way is far right, but there's videos of him saying the same exact thing where he's like, it's all about demographics. It's so weird. And Charlie Kirk and Shapiro are the guys who constantly get falsely labeled far right and alt right, and then they do it to other people who don't agree with them. It's so bizarre. And then they keep getting booed. They keep getting their events. Basically people are going to ask them questions, and then they don't want to answer any questions. It's like, what are you so afraid of? You're afraid of a demographic question? You're afraid of someone challenging homosexuality? Like that scares you? It's a bad look. It makes them look like all they're good at is debating liberals. And look how crazy liberals are. We know, yeah, they're weird. They're unhinged on college campuses. Liberals on college campuses, I smear everybody further right than me or even more moderate. I'm probably more moderate and more respectful in some ways as Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro. And they're going to say, if you're not with me, you're in this group. And then they're wondering why that group keeps growing. The psychology is terrible. And I mean, these guys have like millions of dollars. Like, just listen to me. I'll save you $1 million. You don't need to get a crisis manager or PR agent. Just stop lying. Stop answering questions. Like, they're closing down. So Ben Shapiro did a 45-minute speech this week calling out the alt-right. He called out Fuentes and Owen Benjamin without even mentioning them. He said, he's like, people are, singing anti-Semitic moon conspiracy songs. So it's like, now it was hilarious. He's just like literally just upset. But the craziest part is then at the end, he had somebody screen his question. So he's like, I'm going to straw man this whole argument about all these people. And I'm going to talk about the alt-right, talk about it totally dishonestly. I'm going to throw everybody's name in there. And then I'm going to not allow people to challenge me. It's such a bad strategy. But then it's like all of these, like the Blaze people, they're like, we're owning the alt-right. We're owning dude, you guys are making these people so much more famous. Like the kid who started this whole movement of asking questions, his name is Nick Fuentes. He's getting 15,000 people per live stream now. A couple of weeks ago, he's getting 4,000, 5,000 max. They've tripled his audience. The movement against them is growing. And I've never been impressed with their speakers, but I'm not a hater. I'm like, at least they're on college campuses doing conservative stuff. You've never seen me hate Turning Point. I've always told people, if you want to be better than Turning Point, you got to make your own Turning Point. But now the fact that Turning Point, Dan Crenshaw, Ben Shapiro, and all of these organizations, the Blaze, their new stance is, if you don't want to agree with us, we're going to label you a neo-Nazi and try to ruin your life. Now I got to talk out against it. Now I'm like, you guys are whack, and you've always been whack, but it's like, you could be whack, just don't undermine the First Amendment. Their answers are horrible. And then they act like they're being attacked by neo-Nazis. When someone said, Dan Crenshaw, he talked about Israel, he talked about free speech, and he says, basically his question was, at what point does your support for Israel, override the First Amendment? In less words, that was his question to Dan Crenshaw. Dan's answer was terrible. He says, there's a lot of people cloaking their anti-Semitism in the First Amendment. The First Amendment's not a cloak, bro. That's like the left wing saying, you're cloaking your racism in the First Amendment. That's what they use to get rid of the First Amendment. It's not a cloak. It's the First Amendment. It's there for a reason. I don't want to give it away for any ethnicity, race, or religion. That's how they'll do it. The right wing will use anti-Semitism while they stifle the voice of Jewish people they don't agree with. And the left wing will use racism while they stifle Black and Hispanic conservatives they don't agree with. This is the sneaky move. So he's like, he's not even pro First Amendment. He's not really even pro Second Amendment. His foreign policy is terrible. And now he wants to shut down his question and answers and act like anybody who dares question him, his answers are not good. Charlie Kirk's answers were subpar at best. I have no problem. Ask me about homosexuality in America. Ask me about immigration. Ask me about demographics. Ask me about Israel. Ask me about the First Amendment. Ask me about the Second Amendment. That's not a scary question. It's only scary if you're a liar and you realize that your answer is horrible, so you don't want to answer it. So now they want to shut everyone from asking these questions and label it like they're being attacked by the far right, when in reality, just debate them. You could debate the far left. You can't debate the far right. And now they're grouping the moderate right into the far right and saying it's all you. And that movement's growing. I got progressive people who follow me who now like Nick Fuentes more than they like Charlie Kirk. Literally every Black person that I follow on Twitter that's conservative, they all like Nick Fuentes more than Charlie Kirk and Shapiro. Yet Charlie Kirk and Shapiro are using their media buddies to smear them as like these racist anti-Black people. It's like, there's nobody I follow that even likes you guys. And it's not like we want to do this. It's like, you're like, pick a side, and you're like, not your side. You're creepy. Like, I don't care that I don't agree with the other people, but they're not trying to take my free speech. They're not trying to deplatform me. They're not trying to act like I'm cloaking myself in the First Amendment when I have a legitimate question to ask. So it's like, it's either like you or you. And then everyone's like, all right, we're choosing them. And they're like, why is it growing? It's because you guys are phony. Like, you don't have to have good foreign policy. You don't have to not be a hypocrite. We don't care. But it's like the second you stop shutting down questions, that's bad enough. And then it's like you shut it down, and then they're trying to act like it's a bunch of like left-wing operatives. No, these are legitimate right-wing kids who don't like the moderate conservatism. They think it's weak, and they're entitled to that. I get what they're trying to say, but it's like, man, so I feel bad for Don Jr. for getting caught in that. And it's like the best way, and I'm going to answer some questions after this. The best way to stop the dissident right is to face it and then beat it with logic and facts. Isn't that Shapiro's whole brand? Facts don't care about your feelings. Logic and reason. Use logic and reason. If your message is the truth, I'm not afraid of a communist. I'm not afraid of a far right extremist. As long as they're willing to talk and they're not violent, no ideas are scary to me. No questions are scary. They're afraid of legitimate questions about immigration and demographics. And it's weird. This is my last message, and then we'll answer some questions. You don't have to like me. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to book me, although I'm better than most of your speakers. That's on you. But you don't have to do anything. As a friend, listen to what I'm saying, because the dissident right is just growing. You're getting moderate people who don't even like Nick Fuentes, who don't even like the farther right. You're getting them to like the far right. I got progressive women that I follow who like Nick Fuentes now because Charlie Kirk has embarrassed himself so much. It's like he's running away from question and answers. He's afraid of getting challenged. And then he's smearing everybody who challenges him as like the far. It's like, no, there's some people in there. Absolutely. There are some losers in there. There are some people who are too far right. There's some bad hombres in that group. I'm not going to lie, but it's like 1%. And then there's like 80 to 90% of people who have legitimate concerns. It's the same with Trump supporters or liberals. Not everybody's a liberal extremist. You just hear them the most because they have media control. Not every Trump supporter is a horrible, terrible person. Some are, absolutely. But is it you're going to paint the whole country as that because you can't have a debate? I don't care. It's so bizarre to see the right wing doing this now. Their whole brand is anti-political correctness, and they're playing the PC game. Their whole brand is pro-free speech. That's what Don Jr.'s book is on. He's like, they're shutting down debate on college campuses. And then he goes to a college campus and shuts down a conversation. And that's why he got booed. I like Don Jr. For what it's worth, I don't even mind Charlie Kirk or Turning Point USA. I think they're doing legitimate work that's probably helping in some senses. I'm not a hater, but it's like when your whole brand is fighting free speech, and then you can't even answer a question, and then your response to it is like, everybody's further right. Dude, they don't want to debate. It's so weird. All right, we'll answer some questions, then we'll move on. And let's see what you guys are talking about. But that's my thought, is like Don Jr. is a great guy. Don's a patriot, Shapiro is probably my least favorite out of that bunch. Dan Crenshaw, a little sneaky, but, he's got his moments. Charlie Kirk, met him one time, don't really know him. Think he's probably a nice guy. Maybe not, maybe so. I'm not a negative person. I don't like to talk bad about people, but it's like I'm trying to save them like 5 months of embarrassment. Stop shutting down question and answers. Stop smearing everybody who disagrees with you. Stop acting like you're so pro-Israel that you can't even answer a question about it. And I get that some of these far-right people are asking obnoxious questions and trolling you, but I mean, you can't stop it by running away from it. It's just going to grow. Now it's like this whole thing that you've created. You got senators talking about it. You got Washington Post. The Washington Post put out a more honest article than the Blaze did. These gatekeeper right wingers are so afraid of the other right that they're smearing them worse than the Washington Post is. It's like, you guys got to get a grip. It's not going to work out for you. And someone like me, I'm not impressed. I'd much rather listen to Nick Fuentes and disagree with him on stuff, but hear the counter argument rather than you try to ban him out of existence and shut down those questions. I don't mind someone I disagree with. What I don't like is fakeness. I don't like PC political correctness. I like a little bit of like, whoa, I never thought of that. But that's how you learn. You get challenged. It's not like, oh my God, that's so bad that we can't even hear it. It's like they're playing by the left's rules because the left rules. They're afraid to be called what they're going to get called. Ben Shapiro doesn't like Arabs. He talked about it all the time until recently. Now he wants to act like he's this political correct person who's like, come on, it's not about people. It's about ideas. Ben, just let that hate out of your heart, bro. Just let us know how you really feel. You can play by the left's rule. And I'm not saying it's good to hate people, but it's like, if you do, don't act like everyone else is terrible for doing what you said 2 years ago. And I don't hate people. I'm just saying if he does, how is he the gatekeeper of like political correctness now? It's like, dude, someone said, you get what I'm saying? It's just like, just stop playing by the left's rules and then acting like they're going to care about you. They don't like you. Even if you're moderate, they hate you. So you might as well just say how you actually feel and not censor everybody. JT Wild says, so isn't it obvious that those guys are all being paid by someone with an agenda? We are media. I mean, yeah, at a certain point, here's the thing. I work for myself. I mean, Facebook pays me so they could destroy and ruin my life at any moment, but I don't have to silence or censor myself because I'm not taking a paycheck from Blaze. I'm not taking a paycheck from Daily Wire. I'm not taking a paycheck from TPUSA. So I don't care. But if you are, I don't know who's funding those operations, but for sure, if you take a picture, have a debate with Nick Fuentes, you can guarantee they're behind closed doors. They're trying to censor you out of the picture. They're like, dude, shut it down. Like we don't want him to talk to him. They're creating a culture that's like the left wing. The left wing is like, if you don't agree with our politics, if you don't agree with our policies, we are going to silence you and pressure you into submission. That's kind of what the mainstream left is doing now. If you don't agree with them on Israel, if you have demographic questions, or like me, me and Nick Fuentes are not even remotely similar as people. I'm not a follower. I lead my own movement. He leads his own movement. I'm me, he's him. But I would rather listen to him than Charlie Kirk, and it's not even because I agree with him on everything. It's just because like I'm so bored with that brand of conservatism. It's just not appealing to me. It's not intellectually stimulating. It's like, let's find an identity politics guy. Let's find a gay black Republican to stand on college campuses to say, I'm a gay black Republican and you could be black and gay and be a Republican. And, we're going to just get him to say the same things that everybody else who works for us say. Black unemployment's down, Hispanics want to build a wall too. It's like they act like they're not doing identity politics, but all they do is identity politics. So it's not even that I'm a hater, but like, that's not for me. There's nothing there for me. It's very corny and I don't like it. I think there's a more effective way. However, when they say either it's us or them, I'm like, well, I'm going with them then. It's like, that's not my people. But I don't, I'm just more intellectually stimulated by what they're saying. It's like, I don't mean to like, freak people out or anything, because people always bug out. I mention Farrakhan sometimes, and people are like, oh my, 95% of my audience hates Farrakhan. Literally, like everybody on my Facebook page hates Louis Farrakhan. But I like listening to him sometimes because I hear things I don't normally hear. You get what I'm saying? On the flip side of somebody who's very different, my friend Roseanne hates Louis Farrakhan, but I like Roseanne. I like Roseanne because she's not just a woman who's like, I'm a woman, I'm Jewish. Like Roseanne's talking about like deep state. She's 20 layers down. Those are the people I like to listen to. I don't agree with everybody on everything, but me personally, I like the crazy people. I'd much rather listen to Alex Jones than Ben Shapiro 10 times out of 10. That doesn't mean I'm a horrible person. That's just my choice. It's like, if I want to watch, Fox Sports instead of ESPN, you can't smear me. Just get better. Like have some sort of programming that I enjoy. I just don't enjoy what you guys are doing. So it's like, I just feel like they're picking this battle. Like it's us or them. And like a lot of people are like, well, I'm choosing them. Someone said Alex Jones is a patriot. Alex Jones supported Donald Trump before I did. Alex Jones helped Donald Trump win the election. Alex Jones was one of the only people. I mean, Alex Jones supported Trump before Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro did. Doesn't mean you can't like Charlie or Ben, but it's like they act like you're a crazy lunatic if you want to listen to Alex. Like, you can't tell me who to listen to. Someone said McCain was a traitor. Yeah, John McCain was awful. And that's another thing with the younger right wing that it doesn't like TPUSA. They have every right to question you. I want people to question me. You should be wondering if I'm the truth or not. John McCain was a liar. Mitt Romney was a liar. The Koch brothers acted like they were big conservative donors for 20 years. They turned out to be fraudulent conservatives. Why would you not question me? I would be more weirded out if you just believed everything I said. You should question me. You should question Ben Shapiro. You should absolutely question Turning Point USA. The fact that they think questioning them needs to be shut down and squashed. I mean, we've only been lied to forever. I know why people are confused, because conservatives have been absolutely hijacked by total phonies. Everybody that's been funding the conservative movement for the last 10 years have been frauds pretty much, besides a few people. So it's totally okay to challenge us. The fact that they don't want to be challenged and they want to smear everyone else, it's a bad look. And the worst part about it is it grows the movement that they think they're stopping. If you don't like the further right, then you shouldn't triple their audience and make them look smarter than you. It's like when the liberals, they always talk bad about right wingers who I don't even like, but then they make it a game. It's like Trump or Hillary, who do you pick? Trump, and then it's like Alex Jones or it's us or them. It's a false dichotomy, but also then it's like, I'm not choosing you. I know you want to make them look so crazy that I have to choose you. That's the game they put. Oh, is it going to be us, the safe space on college campuses where conservatives can be moderate, or the far right? I'm like, I like them better. And it's not even because I agree with them. It's just like you made this whole thing. It's like us or them. And they do the same thing the liberals do. They smear their opponent as extreme, crazy, radical, insane, instead of intellectually debating them. If Nick Fuentes or Owen Benjamin or Alex Jones or whoever it is, if they're so crazy, if they're so horrible and terrible as they say, then why can't you debate them? Why can't you impress me? How come you have to straw man them and call them crazy? But then when I take their arguments, you take all the emotion out of it, all the theatrics away from it, and I see what they're saying and I see what you're saying. What you're saying doesn't have a lot of oomph to it. And it's not because there's not a debate to be had, but it's like you're not it. And that's fine, but you can't just like act like everybody. Like if I'm, it's like if I'm 0 for 20 in baseball, I can't get a hit, and I start blaming the stands. I'm like, come on, guys, if you don't like me, then, what are you, a Nazi? It's like, just get a hit, get some winners. There's a lot of impressive people on the conservative movement. How come TPUSA doesn't book Paul Joseph Watson? He runs circles around all these people. Someone like Candace Owens, she was the best thing that ever happened to TPUSA, and I think she's doing her own thing now. I'm not hating, but it's like, you're going to smear me now and say I helped Candace get 26 million views before she had any. So if I didn't help boost Candace to that, maybe Turning Point wouldn't have seen her at that time, So it's like, and then she put you guys on the map. And now she's gone and you replaced her with someone who's worse than her. It's like, she's a star. She stands out among them. You got to get someone of that caliber. There's a lot of good people on the conservative movement. It's not our fault that you're not booking them. It's like Dan Crenshaw is okay, but it's like they're like, this is our crew and everybody else is a Nazi. It's like, all right, if this is the battle you want, game on, but it's whack. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about. Someone said people want the truth. Of course, people want the truth. People don't want political correctness. If we want political correctness, I'll just watch MSNBC. I don't need identity politics from the right wing. And even Trump plays it. I get it. Trump wants black voters. He needs black and Hispanic voters. I get the strategy. Trump is like, look, black unemployment's down. But Trump is, in my opinion, he's in his 70s. He's doing what he can do. He's got advisors, and stuff, and they're doing some good work. But as far as like in my perspective, to get black and Hispanic voters, black and Hispanic people want authenticity as well. They don't want. It's not going to always be like 10 like every conservative campus event. They're like, let's get all the Hispanic people together and anomaly stand here and scream, build a wall. I'm not saying they always do that, but why don't you just get Hispanic people that don't have to hide behind their race? Why don't you just get black people who aren't just like, everything about me is my race and my sexuality? Why not? That's not what people want to hear. Why don't you just get someone who says it like it is? You could translate it into Spanish. People don't need to be babied. Like, we love these people so much. Like, not, that's a very small crowd that's going to like that. So I get why they're trying to reach out to the black and Hispanic community. But it's a slap in the face to a lot of people when it's like, we play identity politics, but we're against identity politics. But you can't have identity politics, but we have identity politics, but we don't have identity politics. It's like, just, there's no need for that. Someone said, do you think TPUSA will reinstate the QSA now that they got exposed for shutting it down? I don't know. I'm not even trying to hate on them and stomp on them. I've warned of this like 4 months ago. I told all my friends, they were calling me names. I was like, guys, because if you're not like Trump, 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 everybody freaks out. But I'm like, guys, a lot of these mainstream right wing conservatives are sneaky, sneaky liars. And I'm like, I don't like them. And you know me, I'm like one of the least haterade people ever. So I'm like, dude, Shapiro, that dude is like top level sneaky, man. His foreign policy, his free speech, the fact that he blacklists people but act like he doesn't. And no one wanted to hear me out. They're like, no, no, dude, don't disrupt. I'm like, guys, people are gonna figure this out. It's getting more obvious. And then it happens, and then they're running away from it. I don't know if they're gonna shut it down or not, but I'm trying to help. It's like, what are you doing? Maybe they're gonna keep shutting it down, and they're just gonna keep getting embarrassed and booed and yelled at, and they're like, oh, let's get the Blaze to put an article and say it's all Nazis following us. It's like, it's so pathetic. It's just like, answer their questions. They're so afraid because they don't answer properly. And I've tried to tell people this 6 months ago. Why do you think I told you guys that the Florida mayor, who I like, Ron DeSantis, or the governor, Ron DeSantis passed anti-First Amendment legislation and he signed it in Israel? Just a side note, it's the first ever Florida bill signed on foreign soil. I don't care. I don't have a problem, but I like the First Amendment. So I don't care if it's in Saudi Arabia, Israel, Europe, Italy, Poland. What are you doing, bro? So I brought this up and everyone's like, we don't want to hear it. And I'm like, it's a little weird. And it's not that I don't like certain people. It's that they use certain people to take away your rights. They can't just take away guns. They need a tragedy. They can't just take away your free speech. They need a whole narrative about the border. It's women, it's children. They always use things that you love. So the left wing, I figured them out. They use women, they use children, they use minority groups, and they use tragedies to put a fascistic agenda. The right wing, they use patriotism and they use Israel. That's just what they do because that's what can fool a right winger. You put Israel on it, all of a sudden people will sell out their free speech. But that's how they get you. And you're starting to see what I said months ago now. It's not going to protect Jewish people in America. I wish it would, but I have several Jewish friends who disagree, and now they're getting stomped by that whole movement where it's like, you only are allowed to agree with us if you're Jewish and you agree with us. If you're Jewish and you disagree with us, now we're going to use it against you as well. That's why free speech is important. You don't take away free speech. You don't take away the Second Amendment. They're not debatable. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason that they use that group. It's not because I can't speak for the further right. I'm not them. There are some hateful people out there, but there's also some legitimate questions. And I tried to tell people this months ago. No one wanted to hear it. But now people are like, oh, yeah, that might be true. Listen to Crenshaw answer a question on the First Amendment. It's very weird. His answer was like, what? He was like, anybody who disagrees with Israel is anti-Semitic because they're a Jewish state. Think about that logic. So if I don't like Germany, I hate all Germans because they're the only German state. If I disagree with England, it's the only English state. If I disagree with Italy, it's the only Italian state. So I'm anti-Italian and you need to take away my free speech. They're not really that honest or impressive or conservative. And I'm not king conservative over here. It's just like, I don't want to be smeared because I don't agree with what they're saying. And then they take away your free speech. And if you disagree with it, they're like, you're a Nazi because you want free speech. I get these games they're playing, guys. They're trying to brand free speech as Nazism on the left and now even on the right. If you want free speech, then you must be. But the crazy part is it's actually the opposite. Nazis were socialist-leaning people who took away free speech, who burned books, who, they didn't allow anybody to say whatever they wanted. That's not how it worked. So it's very dishonest. Someone said, I disagree. It's not identity politics. It's convincing people they don't have to vote Democrat. A lot of people are doing a great job. I'm not here to hate on people. I think Candace and Kanye West, you could say what you want about them. They totally revitalized a whole movement that people didn't know. A lot of these new people, Bryson Gray, Kingface, they all got inspired, I think, by Kanye West and Candace Owens. So they're doing great work. But you get what I'm saying? They're doing what they're doing, but it's okay as well. There's another way to reach a new group of people, We don't have to do this for 5 years. It's like, I get they're trying to get Black and Hispanic people to wake up to conservatism, but there's other ways to do it. You don't have to. And at least if you're going to do that, don't call the main group of Trump voters, don't start smearing them, just because they disagree with you. It's like, it's a little weird. Let's see. Who are we talking about? Someone said Rogan. I got to get invited to Joe Rogan. I don't get invited. If I got invited, yeah, of course I would talk to him, but I can't like just show up at his thing and be like, "Hey, Joe, I'm here for the podcast, dog." He's like, "I didn't invite you." And the problem that the farther right has with the mainstream right is they think that it's progressivism with a speed limit. For example, Julian Castro, the guy who's running in Texas, Julian Castro said basically, I have the clip somewhere, but he said on CBS, he said Texas is shifting blue because of demographic changes. That's what Julian Castro says. So when Julian Castro says it, that's totally fine. When Ben Shapiro says it 2 years ago, that's totally fine. But now Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, and Dan Crenshaw, now they're trying to act like this is this radical far right stance that they don't want to get near when it's just reality. You don't have to say it's the be all end all. I always say, we can absolutely revolutionize the mind for all groups. It's just like you got to put it out there in the proper way and not stifle competition. But that's kind of their stance now. It's like, if you go near that, you're a bad person. But it's like, that's just the truth. Like, Democrats say it. You said it 2 years ago. It's what's happening. Now there's a debate. How do you combat it? But like I said, that's a debate. That's not my answer's right. Everybody who disagrees with me is racist. That's what the left does. That's never my stance. Like, if I see what you guys are saying, there's some bad comments in my opinion. There are some very hateful people in my chat sometimes, but I'm not going to say if you disagree with me, you're a racist. That's not how a debate works. I have to prove to you why I'm right. I can't smear you and label you and then act like I'm right because I knocked you down. My argument should be so good that it should change your mind. And if it's not, maybe you don't have a good argument. And that's what a lot of these guys, they have horrible arguments. And then they just act like everybody who doesn't like what I just said. Like, I would love to debate Ben Shapiro. I would love to have a conversation about it with foreign policy, free speech, mislabeling people. But I don't think he wants to be challenged. I think he wants to talk to Cenk Uygur. I think he wants to talk to Dave Rubin and, Sam Harris of the intellectual dark web. I think he wants to have questions that make him look good. I don't think he's screening questions at his own events. He's like, I don't want anyone to ask questions about that. Let's see what you guys are saying. Even today, let's see. Today you had what's his name, Don Cherry or whatever. He made a question about people respecting veterans, and he got fired. You know what I'm saying? It's like the left controls media, so we're already losing that battle. You can't even. LeBron James could say anything he wants, and nothing will happen. He could criticize, America, conservatives, white, whatever. Doesn't matter. The second Don Cherry does like 1/50th of what LeBron does, he's fired. So it's like these conservatives who think they're winning the culture war, they're not, and it's like, you're not, which is, I'm not saying we can't, but it's like, we can win the culture war, but you can't win the culture war by being politically correct. Like, you got to just break out of it. Like Dave Chappelle, just an example, there's others. Dave Chappelle doesn't kowtow and like go around college campuses with people that are like, look, I'm gay and black. Like, that's not winning the culture war. The culture war is just being raw, being honest, being savage in a fair and legitimate way. And they don't like that. It's not even that they're not doing that. They're trying to kick that out of the conservative movement and say that anybody who does that is a horrible person. It's like, that's how you lose the culture war. Because we know they're not hiring like music. It's like, what musicians work for Turning Point that make really great music or really great movies? There's, we got Christy Swanson, like Robert Davi, Angelina Jolie's husband. I mean, we got some legends out there, but it's like, we got a long way to go when it comes to taking over culture. So it's like, they don't hire any of the good musicians. They don't work with any of the realest people. And then they constantly just yell at everybody. My man Seth said, If you got on Rogan and didn't hold back, Matrix Breaker, obviously I'm not holding back if I get on Rogan, but I got to get invited. I would love to. I know Joe knows who I am. It's just like whether he wants to have me on or not. Someone said the Groypers are tame compared to Saul Alinsky tactics. The Groypers are fine. They're just asking questions. I mean, some of them legit, they are a little bit, a little bit annoying. I'm not saying all, but some. Answer their questions. The reason that they've gotten to this point is because they've been kicked to the corner. They've been lied about. They've been smeared. They have no leaders that tell them the truth. So they gravitate towards that side. They're way tamer than Saul Alinsky. Most of them just want to answer questions. Even here's the thing about even the far right that everybody hates, like someone like Richard Spencer, he's on CNN. CNN talked to him. So it's like CNN's allowed to talk to him, but Blaze TV can't talk to him, or like you always play by the left's games. They're allowed to talk to anybody. And even him, he's trying to have a conversation. I'm not saying he's a great guy, but go to the far left. Who on the far left is even trying to have a conversation? I would love to talk to Antifa, but do they even want to talk? You know what I'm saying? You could talk to the far right. They'll sit down in a suit and answer a question. You talk to the far left, they like foam at the mouth and try to punch you in the face. It's like, why are they not capable of having a conversation? You have right-wingers asking questions to right-wingers, asking questions to left-wingers. What left-wingers go to right-wing events and ask questions and have debate? They don't debate. They just silence. That's why when the moderate right-wing starts doing what the left does, it's a little weird. They just want to silence you. It's like, I'm not afraid of anyone. As far as debate, it's like, they're going to blacklist you if you talk to certain people. I would love to debate the far right. I would love to debate the far left. But if I debated the far left, that would be fine. If I debated the far right, they would try to say I am the far right. That these are the games that they play. CNN's allowed to have them on, but if you talk to them, now you're associated with them. You took a picture with them. It's like, I'm done playing by their little games. Someone said I've been kicked off the chat. It's all good. Someone said, I like the honesty. Personally, I think conversation is good. Respect. We're so far past the point of free speech and political correctness. We need to go the other way. It's not even debatable. So the fact that a lot of these conservative organizations are playing the political correctness game, that needs to go the other way, bro. You should know that, especially if you're conservative. We can't play political correctness and censor each other and act like a conversation's so horrible. What are you so afraid of? And I guarantee you, they're afraid of looking like a fool because their argument is not that concrete. I have no problem talking with someone that's further off than me. It doesn't affect my stance, but their stance is not good. Look at conversations when you have people like Nick Fuentes having conversations with the conservative moderates. He'll say some things you don't agree with. He'll say some edgy stuff, but overall, a lot of them are not ready for that level of thought. They want a liberal to say, oh, socialism. It's like, that's their whole brand. It's like, let's laugh at the liberals and feel so good about ourselves. Let's debate socialists. It's like, why not debate right wingers who Ben Shapiro was like, I would never debate Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist, lunatic. Like, he was smearing the crap out of Alex Jones when Alex Jones would run circles around Ben Shapiro. So that's his tactic. Call him mean names, but never face him. And, take an hour speech to talk about people, but don't even let them ask one question. Facts care about your feelings. Unless it's my feelings, then they override facts. These people are so sneaky. It's like, I don't care that I don't agree with them, but the fact they only talk about other people, but refuse to talk to them. Oh no, I'm above that. I won't talk to Alex Jones. No, I will never talk to Nick Fuentes. Why? You'll talk to 17-year-olds on a college campuses that could barely even drive a car, but you're afraid of someone else. Like, you can't talk to him. They don't want to be challenged. No more news. Adam said, I didn't get you in trouble, did I? Adam, trust me, I don't care. No, you didn't get me in trouble. I don't even care. I do what I want to do, even with you, Adam. That's why when I was messaging you, I was like, you were asking questions. I was like, I don't care what anyone thinks. It's just like, don't attack me for my friend group and my people. But if you did get me in trouble, I could care less. I don't think you did that. I don't think anyone cares. Most of the people, they know it. Adam, when me and you had the debate with the ZOA guy, he was like, dude, Adam, I watched your channel and I agree with a lot of it, so even they know it's not wrong. So that's on them. Let me see. I like the honesty. Someone said, thank you. Really respect your intellectual honesty. It seems like every faction, left or right, is afraid to address weakness within their own group. That's all it is. And it's not even like it's not a bad thing to have a debate, but like I don't know. I'm over what they're doing. I'm over past the point of like allowing it. And that's what I always say to the left, that's what makes a team good. When you go into halftime, you don't talk crap on the other team. If you're, the Los Angeles Lakers and you're playing the Washington Wizards, that's a funny name, Washington Wizards. I didn't even think of that. But if you're playing them, you don't go into halftime and talk shit on them the whole time. Your team would never be good. You got to talk to your own team. This is what we're doing wrong. We need better defense. You'd be fired from the NBA immediately if you say anything conservative, but also if you played like that, if you were like, let's just shit on their team, what about our defense? What about our offense? What about our team? You have to talk about yourself as a team. So the fact that people are afraid to do that, they're like, oh my God, what are you trying to break up the left wing movement? It's like, no, we're trying to get better because this is not good. Someone said, okay, loser. I don't know if you're talking to me. Someone said, you won't even say his name. Sad. I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. It's funny when people like accuse me of things on live stream. I just laugh. So like, dude, you won't even answer my question. I was like, trust me, I didn't see it. And there's like 1,000 people asking questions. What's next for you, Anomaly? Probably, honestly, trying to leave Los Angeles because California is no bueno. The problem is, BoxFed said, problem is that it's illegal for conservatives to talk real talk, and this proves it. Absolutely. I like edgy stuff, man. I like people who push the boundaries. Like even with race, conservatives are so afraid to talk about race, like the Charlie Kirks and Shapiro's. But the crazy part is Shapiro, trust me, Shapiro knows about race. He'll tell you about his race. He knows a lot about it. But they're afraid to dive into that. I get why. The optics are bad. You might sound, but like we have different qualities in certain ways that we know are different. For example, different, if you're Irish, you're not going to be able to go in the sun as much as me. And I'm not going to be able to go in the sun as so much darker as me. Simple stuff like that. Irish people who are very white can't, like, I'm like, let's sit in the sun. And my friends who are whiter than me say, let's not sit in the sun. That's okay. It's okay to be slightly different. We all bleed blood. We're all humans, but we do have different qualities. It's just reality. If not, can you identify as black if you're Irish and say, oh, no, I identify as black. I'm going to go in the sun for 5 hours. No, you'd get skin cancer. So it's okay. You get what I'm saying? It's actually more racist to not look at these things because then you're going to hurt people. You're going to hurt Irish people if you tell them they can go in the sun all the time. So it's like the conservatives, they don't want to touch race. They're like, it's all ideas. Ideas are all that matters. It's not the Rocky Mountains. It's not America. It's not the people here. It's the idea. No, it's not. It's not. That's where the other right wing wins. It's like, it's not all about ideas. Ideas are great. Culture is great. You know what I'm saying? Being loving and tolerant is great, but it's also okay to speculate on differences, and demographics. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's different hair products for different ethnicities. There's different, sun tolerance. I would even go as far as to say, I bet you there's different diets that work better between genders and certain ethnicities. I bet there's a certain diet that might work. I don't know though. I'm not a health expert, but if a health expert was like, I'm going to discuss the differences between the diets, and I'm like, oh my God, you're racist. Not at our event. It's all about ideas here. Well, my idea is that it's okay to talk about demographics. So if you say it's not, then I'm not going to listen to you. And now I'm over it. Someone said, when are you running for office? Never. I'm not running to office, for office. I'm running from office. Ryan B has said, have you looked into race and IQ? Thoughts? That's not my thing, but I know Stefan Molyneux talks about it. Watson and Crick, one of the scientists from Watson and Crick who had a Nobel Prize, he talked about IQ in different parts of the country. It's not my thing, but once again, who am I to tell somebody they can't talk about it? So, the fact that their answer is, if you talk about that you're racist, it's a red flag. Like, I've heard Stefan Molyneux say that he thinks Puerto Rican people have on average lower IQ. I'm part Puerto Rican. I know my IQ is higher than Stefan Molyneux's. No, I'm just kidding. That's a little nudge to him. But overall, It doesn't bother me. I don't get bothered by stereotypes or conversations or speculations. It doesn't bother me. So it's annoying that people, what are my thoughts on it? I'm open, but it's like I don't think people should be silenced from discussing that. What's wrong with that? Like people are so soft. And it's if you said that on the moderate right wing, they'd be like, oh my God, you're a supremacist. It's like, why? When behind closed doors, they're saying worse stuff than that. Someone said IQ is a limited assessment. Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, if IQ is anything like school, tests, then it's probably not the greatest measure. But I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. I don't care about it. Tracy said, I love Puerto Ricans. All right. Thank you, Tracy. Part of my DNA is very happy. Island Iron said, I'm Polish and Puerto Rican. That's what I am. I'm Polish, Italian, Puerto Rican. He said, that's a good comment. Interesting thing. Someone said Thomas Sowell mentioned it. Someone said we're losing our country due to insecurities about history and lies. There's so many lies, but that's why free speech is important. When you go to certain countries like Germany, you can't even question history. It's illegal. That's a red flag right there. I get why they'd want to stifle certain conversations, but I think free speech should really work that stuff out. Your argument should be sound. You should have proof, and you should put out a documentary that proves it beyond shadow of a doubt. Someone said you're not a snowflake. I like people who are edgy. I enjoy that. I don't like people that are like afraid to say it, because usually the person who acts like I'm so not racist, they have a few beers and they're the most racist person. I'm not racist, and I don't need to prove that I'm not racist. Like someone will be like, I'm not like there's this, I'm not even gonna mention the name, but there's somebody who wanted to share my post and they just started annoying the crap out of me and being weird and like asking for a quid pro quo, like you share mine, you share mine, you share mine. And they were annoying the crap out of me. I was like, dude, if you want to share my post, you can. I'm busy. And then they're telling everybody I'm racist. It's like, what are you talking like, it's like people act like that. I don't need to prove to one person that. It's like I could go to a barbecue and it's not like I'm sitting with a bunch of like black conservatives where I'm like, build the wall, build, like I have friends, and it's not like I don't do it just to say I did it. It's just who I happen to like and hang out with sometimes. So it's like I don't need to prove to like political operatives and news blogs like this loser like 35-year-old dude who lives in San Francisco. It's like, dude, black people don't even like you. Shut up. You probably just like sit in your room all day and watch Netflix and like talk about politics in a crabby manner. It's like I have nothing to prove. These journalists are like, I went to Berkeley for 8 years and I studied racial things. It's like no one looks to you for racial advice. I promise you. Like your professors lied to you. You wasted $100,000. Now you're pathetic, and you're gonna get paid by BuzzFeed like 70,000 a year until they fire you. Then you're gonna cry and claim it was some sort of right. It's like I get these people. I'm over them. Someone says sounds a little narcissistic. I don't know if you're talking to me or my impression, but someone said I have family in the Bahamas and the government's getting rich off. Yeah, I can't imagine how corrupt the government in Bahamas are. They don't have a lot of money there, so if a hurricane hits and the U.S. sends them like millions of dollars, I mean, they're probably stealing it. I wouldn't even I wouldn't even doubt it. Let's see. What are we talking about? Let's see. Someone said move to Texas. Would you love to hear you collab? Who are you talking about? Hello, Melissa. How are you? Thank you for being here. Someone said the History Channel is running a series on Nazi Germany. I'm going to watch it. I don't even have television. It goes straight into their pockets. Yeah. I mean, the islands are really run down, man. It's sad. I visited some islands. There's a lot of devastation from the hurricanes. It's really sad. Nate Pedro Stein said, keep dancing around my question. Nate, sorry, I didn't see your question. I have two streams. I have YouTube and Facebook going simultaneously. So you could ask again if you would like. Someone said you're cranking this evening. I feel good. Someone said black pill. I don't get what you guys are doing, to be honest. Like I don't follow what you're doing enough to like white pill, black pill. I know what the red pill means, but you guys got a pill for everything. And then I saw the ADL try to do it. They're like the purple pill. I'm like, you're doing too much. It's either right or it's wrong. It's true or it's false. I don't got time to the red pill is enough for me. I don't know what the white pill and the black pill are. I'm not hating it. I'm just saying you guys lost me. You guys lost me after the red pill. Do you think someone's finally going to prison for treason? Maybe. I don't know. The thing with that is like it's all speculation until it's not, So when it happens, I'll be pumped. And when it doesn't, I won't be surprised. So, you know. Oh, you're saying black pill's the channel, Devin Stack. Oh, I got you. I thought you meant like because people are like, you know how they say, oh, we red pilled you. Now people are like, dude, that's a white pill. That's a black pill. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But yeah, I know black pill's a channel. I haven't seen it that much, but I know I'm familiar with the name. I think I've seen a little bit of it. Someone said black pill is doomers. Black pill is base. Guys, you're losing me. You got too many names. Zoomers, doomers, gloomers. I told you, I'm over. After red pill. I don't just tell me if it's true and tell me if it's not true. I don't need all these names, but you guys could do it. I'm just like people I follow. They're always like, dude, that's a white pill. I'm like, what is a white pill? I don't know what this means. Now I sound like a boomer. I sound like a boomer now. I played myself. Now I'm like, what's up with all these kids and their pills? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Who do I follow on live streaming? That's a good question. Uh, I don't watch anyone that consistently anymore. I'm not even gonna lie. I just kind of do my own thing and peek in. I've been very interested in this whole like Groyper question and answer war. That's why I've been talking about it a lot. I think it's very entertaining. Um, um, Zoomer is Generation Z. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying I sound like a boomer, so I'm gonna stop talking. Someone said Roseanne is great. Yeah, Roseanne's a legend. Uh, Someone said drugs are bad. Okay. They all have immunity for prosecution. I don't know what's gonna happen with the Adam Schiff situation. Yeah, dude, there's some sneaky sneaks. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just hopefully something. Let's see. Light blue pill as a Vyvanse. No, yeah, I'm not. Don't take Vyvanse. Hello from Alaska. I saw you out here a few months ago. Yeah, Alaska's awesome. That's a legendary state. Let's see. Boomers rule. Someone said boomers rule. Maybe one day I'll get a boomer versus a zoomer debate. We'll get like a 19-year-old conservative versus like a 55, like boomer Bill. That account on Instagram is so funny. I follow an account named Bill the Boomer, and he just acts like a boomer all the time. It's so funny. Someone said, is Nick Fuentes legit? My thing is this. I think I respect you enough to figure it out for yourself. People have different preferences, whether it's Turning Point, Nick, whoever. Watch them, listen to them, and you could figure out if you agree with them or not. Or some people, they don't need to agree with everything. They just find it interesting. So you can figure that out for yourself. I think what's very interesting about Nick is he has some very edgy and unpopular opinions that are also in my opinion, some are actually popular. It's just stuff no one wants to say. It's like he's even edgier than right wingers, and he has an interesting debate to be had. He talked to Elijah from Slightly Offensive, in my opinion, one of the most interesting debates / interviews of the year, because you hear the conservative stance and then you hear Nick's further right stance, and I think that's when the best comes out. When you have two people that aren't afraid to debate and they disagree, that's when the juice comes out. Because when I talk on a stream, I'm not being challenged until I read a question. That's why right now you guys could say anything. I'm trying to answer it. I want to be challenged, but when you're by yourself, it's easy to just say stuff. But when someone's facing you and you have to debate, it puts it in a whole different energy. So listen to Nick and you can decide for yourself. But I really enjoy the person who's got something new to say, who wants to challenge someone else. So I think he's got a lot of points that aren't going to go away, that a lot of people resonate with. So I think it would be very wise for the Charlie Kirks and such to just face it, disagree with it, but have a conversation with it. I get the optics and stuff, but to me, I don't care about optics. I mean, I get it. Like you want to brand yourself properly, but I'm not gonna like run away. What's wrong with European American values being conserved? There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's not a bad thing. We're so politically correct. You have the left who listen, I love like almond milk and liberal cities to an extent. I get where liberals are trying to do, but like the left is so wrong about so much. It's like impossible to even listen to them anymore. When it comes to the right, you have the mainstream campus conservative. They get smeared by the left, but they're still trying to play the same games of the left. So, you know, when it comes to what's wrong with preserving values, nothing. And even if I disagreed with you, there's nothing wrong with you thinking that, then I should be able to debate you. So the fact that even the right wants to suppress and censor and blacklist instead of debating, we need to go that way. Everyone's going that way on political correctness. We need to turn the whole boat around. Like it's not political correctness does not help ease tensions. It doesn't help the country. All it is like what's his name? What's that guy's name? Uh George Carlin. He said it's fascism with manners. It's basically authoritarianism acting like it's polite, you know? It's like, "Oh, I'm so friendly and polite," but really they're just steamrolling with a crappy agenda. Do you think Bloomberg could win 2020? Anything could happen, but I mean, I don't know. Is he like losing his mind like Joe Biden? Is he moderate and not crazy? I don't know. I think Trump is just such a front runner, but we'll see. We'll see how I thought Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would do better, but Joe Biden's like losing his mind, and Kamala Harris is like so inauthentic that nobody even likes her. So, I got Tulsi Gabbard right. I knew she would be a force, but I didn't realize so many progressive have like a blind allegiance to Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. It's creepy. I thought they'd get off Bernie Sanders after he like lied to them so much, but progressives are obsessed with Bernie Sanders. My thought about it is they thought Kamala Harris and Biden were going to be their two options between moderate and progressive, more socialist leaning like Kamala, but they both flopped. Now you have Bernie and Sanders and Elizabeth Warren leading the race. So now they want Bloomberg or Hillary to go in because they need a moderate person. They're trying to like pretend to be moderate. So they need to put Bloomberg in the race because everyone else flops so hard. They're trying to get him to be like the Joe Biden. Joe Biden, dude, he's got a lot of not going for him this election. Let's see what you guys are talking about. The Greta mural in San Francisco, it's creepy. It's a shame what's happening in California. Like, I apologize to my supporters, the people who on Facebook. There's a way to support for $5 a month. I've been falling behind. I want to do more posts and like private streams, but I literally like I escaped from Los Angeles. I went up north for a few days to try to get away from the smoke, and then I just left the state. So I'm trying to move out of California as soon as possible. It's kind of slowing down my work ethic, but I don't trust the state, man. It's like it's on fire. The air's horrible, and nobody they think it's climate change because there's a Greta mural. It's like they're not gonna solve it. They want to shut off power for 10 years. They're like, we're gonna just this is the new California. We're just gonna shut your power off. I'm trying to get out of there as soon as possible. I think I'm gonna leave. So that's why. Sorry, spread the word among supporters. That's why I've been slacking a little bit. Even me slacking though is not slacking. I think even when I'm slacking, I do more videos and content than like most people do with like a full team of like they got 100 employees and they still don't work as hard as me. But I feel bad because I like to keep them cranking. Do you think Tulsi Gabbard would have a shot if her party would back her or possibly hurt her? Tulsi Gabbard would absolutely have a shot if the Democratic Party would back her, but more importantly, Bernie Sanders supporters and progressive socialist leaning people are so ridiculously foolish and naive to support Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren. What are you guys doing? These people are Puritans to ideas that don't even make sense. So it's like they're loyal to Bernie, even though he constantly turns his back on them because they're like Puritans and sold into this idea that doesn't even make sense. So they should have, I mean, regardless of if the establishment supported Tulsi Gabbard, progressives, instead of putting Bernie Sanders in the front, they should be putting Tulsi Gabbard in the front, but they don't care. They're like, well, she's a little weak on Medicare for all. That whole idea is a government bomb waiting to explode. It's not even a good idea. So it's like you should compromise a little bit because that whole idea is terrible. And Tulsi probably knows it's terrible, so she's not quite as bullish on it. So it's like it's a shame that even progressives don't get behind Tulsi Gabbard. They're such, but that's what I mean. That is their ideology. That's why they're going to keep losing, and it's unfortunate. It's like everything that they do is steal money from me, steal my freedom, steal my ability to opt out, steal my medical freedom, and then anybody who doesn't want to do that is the enemy. So it's like Tulsi Gabbard's not far left enough for them on certain topics, so they support Bernie Sanders. It's so stupid. It's okay though. Someone said Nike will probably make a Greta tennis shoe. Maybe. See, when it gets cold outside, I can start wearing leather jackets like this. Someone said, I'm the nobody, by the way. Someone said they're going to regret it, regret it, regret it. You get it? I like that. Someone said Tulsi would work with Trump. Apparently, Steve Bannon said Tulsi tried to get in his cabinet and applied for a position. That's pretty cool. Even Steve Bannon was complimenting her. Like everyone was hating on me for giving her a few compliments. Even Steve Bannon, who's very conservative, he said that Tulsi is someone you'd want in your cabinet. Her foreign policy, she gets it much more than a lot of people. I don't agree with everything Tulsi says. I prefer Trump more than Tulsi, but I think Tulsi runs circles around Ben Shapiro and Dan Crenshaw. I'd much rather her in the cabinet than them. Someone said, I want to move to the country, raise chicken and goats. Very strong play. Are you aware of the YouTube policy changes coming December 10th? Yeah, I saw that. The YouTube has